Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. We are here in the Czech Republic in Pilsen as Manchester United prepare to take on Viktoria Plzen in their European clash away from home, Ruben Amorim's first European away game, and it's one of them where you really do have to win it. We want to be looking to get into the top 8 of the Europa League. We don't want to have to play that playoff game. And the Europa League is extremely, extremely important for Manchester United. Sitting at 13th in the Premier League isn't a good look. And it's not a good look if Manchester United are looking to get Champions League football or even European football. I think you can kiss goodbye to Champions League football in the league. That's not going to happen. Let's just put it honestly. But to get European football, it's huge for Manchester United. And are we even going to get that in the Premier League? If you win the Europa League, you are into the Champions League, which would be absolutely fantastic for Ruben Amorim, especially considering he's going to want to spend money in the summer, and I'm about to ask him about that in his press conference as well. Also, if you hear any coughing throughout this video, Ryan, our producer, seems like he is on death's door, so if I get distracted by the coughing, excuse that. Walk away. Yeah, go a little bit further, yeah, because the coughing is really putting me off, and I'm hoping I don't catch it. If I do catch it, we'll come in for Ryan. I'm also going to speak a little bit about Marcus Rashford. As we're travelling, as we're away, the news has dropped that Marcus Rashford could be up for sale for Manchester United, even in January, but mainly it's going to look like it's going to be in the summer. And he was also up for sale last summer apparently, but no one came in for him. His wages, 300 plus grand a week for Marcus Rashford. What club is going to want to pay that? And should Manchester United sell Marcus Rashford? Why should they sell Marcus Rashford? I've got a few stats to bring in. I've got my opinion, and I think it's time to be honest about this player and where his future lies at Manchester United. So we're going to talk about all of that. But let's get into things. A slight little preview ahead of the Viktoria Plzen game. We do have the road trip coming up. I've got more to say on that with Ruben Amorim's press conference coming as well. But I want to just quickly say, Ruben Amorim is going to rotate in this game. He has to rotate. He's made it abundantly clear that he's talking to physios consistently, which means some players who have been pushed to the side might get an opportunity in this game to impress Ruben Amorim, because let's be honest, no one's exactly pulled up trees. Who has pulled up trees for Ruben Amorim so far since he's come in? You could say Mazraoui has been excellent, but he was excellent beforehand. I think De Ligt has been top quality. So De Ligt is someone who I think will be rested in this game. So he's someone who's put himself there as Ruben Amorim's plans. Ahmad obviously has been fantastic, but beyond that, Ugarte, we knew Ugarte. Well, the majority of people who watch football and knew about Ugarte before he came in knew that Ugarte would thrive in this system and kept faith in the player. But apart from that, no one's absolutely banged down the door to confirm a starting place in Ruben Amorim's team. So there is going to be players coming in, and they could regain the opportunity to be part of Ruben Amorim's team for the future. Like I said, with a lot of people talking about and a lot of newspapers talking about Manchester United squad being up for sale in the summer, the majority of it being up for sale, and there's only certain players who are untouchable. I think the majority of these players are on a probation period. I think the majority of them, it's now they've got to try and impress Ruben Amorim until the end of the season. If not, they could be up for sale in the summer and they could well be out of the door, and they've lost their opportunities to play for Manchester United. So I think a lot of these players really need to pull the socks up and think, I need to impress Ruben Amorim, and I need to go out there and show him why I should be part of this team, why I should be part of his future. Because the one thing that we can say is absolutely for a certain, the fan base isn't turning against Ruben Amorim. The board and Ineos can't afford to turn against Ruben Amorim. That won't be happening. He's going to be allowed to rebuild. That's what's being reported. So the majority of these players that in the past seem to be untouchable. I mean, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's cutting Christmas bonuses. He's cutting salaries in half. He's making players redundant. Not players redundant. Some of you would like to think that. He's making staff redundant. He's not going to stop it. Some of the players that are massively overpaid at this club. So there's players that are on probation period, and there is players that are going to have to leave. For example, let's touch on Marcus Rashford. I don't think beyond the summer, Marcus Rashford and Alejandro Garnacho can both stay at Manchester United, because I think they both don't necessarily suit the system, and I think at least one of them will have to move on, because Ruben Amorim is going to want to go and get another number 10. I think I can already say for now, and prove me wrong, that Bruno Fernandes and one of Alejandro Garnacho and Marcus Rashford isn't going to be the quality that we need in them 2 number 10 spots going forward if we want to compete. I don't think it's going to be. I think Bruno Fernandes is certainly going to be part of this team. His captaincy is needed, his leadership is needed, he's been given a new contract. I think he can play multiple roles in the midfield, I honestly do. I think he's absolutely fantastic in terms of what he brings for Manchester United at this moment in time. In the future, potentially maybe you will need to replace Bruno Fernandes, but not now. You don't need to do that. He is going to be playing. So in another one of them number 10 spots, Ruben Amorim is going to go for someone. That left-sided 10, I think that's open. And I think Alejandro Garnacho and Marcus Rashford so far have not done enough to secure that. Who do Manchester United keep? Do they keep the young player, the 20-year-old Alejandro Garnacho, that is not on a huge wage and still at that age can be coached and can learn a lot and has an incredibly high ceiling? Or do they keep Marcus Rashford, who's not produced in the last couple of years, he's been massively underperforming considering where he was at in his career, and is our highest paid player and can't get into the first team regularly? He's not been in the team for the last 2 games under Ruben Amorim. And there's been certain players that have played every game despite the rotation. Of course, there's been players that have been pulled off because of physios, but he's not played the last 2 games. And the games that he has came on at, the Arsenal game and the Nottingham Forest game, he's looked poor in both of them. That's your highest paid player. You can't afford to be going into a season next year with him on the bench consistently. So I do think a massive decision needs to be made about Marcus Rashford. I think he'll start. I think he'll start here against Pilsen. And all I can say is that where Marcus Rashford wants to be? Be the player that isn't starting against Arsenal, isn't starting against Forest, but then he's starting in the Europa League game in Pilsen midweek. Will he start in the derby? Is your highest paid player, you should be the first name on the team sheet in near enough every game. You should be the player that the manager can't go without playing, like a Bruno Fernandes. I think Bruno Fernandes deserves his wage because he is the player under Ruben Amorim that is the heartbeat of the team, that is playing every single game. For what you're paying Marcus Rashford, that's what you expect from him. And I've spoken about it for a long time. And the fact that Marcus Rashford is going to be up for sale isn't a surprise to me. I know that there's been reports saying that Manchester United are concerned about the off-field activities. I'm not going to lie and say that I haven't heard that myself. I've not said much about it because I don't know how true it is. But when you are living in Manchester and you are in and around Manchester, you do hear a lot of stories surrounding Marcus Rashford's life off the field. Now, I'm not saying other players don't do that, because they probably do, but they're probably just not as high profile as Marcus Rashford. But there has been a lot of stories I've heard off the field that don't contribute to being the best performing athlete that you could possibly be. But putting that aside, because we don't know how true that is, you've just got to look at what Marcus Rashford is producing for you. And in his best, we know what he can do. But his best, you've got to remember this, his best is off the left wing in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. How he's going to function long term in a Ruben Amorim system in a 3-4-3, I don't see it. I don't see him strong enough to be a centre forward. We've already seen that, and Ruben Amorim hasn't played him there since the Ipswich game, so he clearly doesn't fancy him there either. And I don't see him being creative enough or good enough on the ball to play in behind the striker. I don't see it. I don't see how he can produce. And people say, well, he played there in the Everton game. He scored 2 very good goals in the Everton game. But apart from that, I don't think he was groundbreaking. And for 300 plus grand a week, you need groundbreaking every single week, or at least on a consistent basis. And he's not provided consistency for a long time. So if I'm looking at Marcus Rashford and I'm looking, do you sell Marcus Rashford? I'm looking at a couple of things. Is he going to find a space in Ruben Amorim's system long term? And to that, I would say, no. I don't think he is, because I don't see where he fits. Is he best suited to a 3-4-3? No, I don't think he is. I think he's best suited to the left wing in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. Has he shown any signs of getting back to his best within the last 2 years? He's shown glimpses, but nothing you can hold on to. Nothing you can hold on to. How long do you sit here and hope he's going to have that season he had in Erik ten Hag's first year? How long do you sit here and hope that? He's 27 years old. He's your highest paid player on over 300 grand a week. A decision is going to have to be made. What would I do? I think at this moment in time, the club will, if someone comes in with a viable offer, if a club comes in with a viable offer, I think the club will sell him. And I think if it was up to me, I would probably sell him as well. Get his wages off the books, they're extremely high, and invest it into a player that is going to fit Ruben Amorim's system and is going to thrive under Ruben Amorim. Because I think there's players out there that are much better suited to the way Ruben Amorim wants to play than what Marcus Rashford is for the wage, for the age, and for the fee you'd probably be able to get for him as well. So that's what I would do. And I think it's important to know, under Ruben Amorim at Manchester United, I don't think there's going to be any star players. Of course, you've got to have your star players, your performing players, but I think it's going to be the system that shines, and you need players that are going to play as a team, as Ruben Amorim said, and are going to flourish in the system. Is Marcus Rashford the best player you can get to play in that number 10 role? I don't personally think so, so I would cash in. And there will be clubs out there that want him, and there'll be a lot of people thinking, what if he goes on and does well? You know, Sancho's looking good for Chelsea now, McTominay's doing well for Napoli, and Wan-Bissaka's doing well for West Ham. That's the risk you take. But you get his wages off the books, money comes in, and you can invest that. We are going to have to sell to buy. Some players are going to have to go. And also, it does give that example to the rest of the squad that nobody is untouchable in Manchester United. I mean, it would be sad. It would be sad to see Marcus Rashford go, I'm going to be honest. As somebody from Manchester who looked up to Marcus Rashford coming through, I'm going to be honest, he was one of my favourite players, if not my favourite player at a period of time. His backstory, what he's been through, and his dedication to Manchester United. And people can question that, but he has played through injury for the club, and he is a Manchester United fan. Them tears when we lifted the FA Cup final were genuine. Like, he cares about the club, but for some reason or another, he's lost his way over the last couple of years. Maybe it's the big contract, maybe money went to his head, maybe he just doesn't have the love for football as he once did, and he's trying to get back into it, but he just can't get there. But something isn't right. You don't see 100% effort every single time he walks onto a football pitch. You haven't seen the Marcus Rashford that we know is there for a long time, and people say, well, he just doesn't have the ability. I mean, I've seen him in open training, he looks levels above everyone else. I know people that know Marcus Rashford and say, when Marcus Rashford's on it, he's absolutely incredible. It's just not been that for a long time, and I think you've got to stop hoping and you've got to move on. What is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again. At the end of the day, is Marcus Rashford the player that should be Manchester United's highest paid player? Is he going to be our Cole Palmer? Is he going to be our Erling Haaland? Is he going to be our Mo Salah? And I don't think he is. And he's on that kind of wage, and he's not producing enough. I mean, in terms of Marcus Rashford's best as well, I just wanted to bring this in because I thought it was interesting. Because people want him to get back to his best. The most goals he's ever scored in the league is 17. That's in his best ever season in the Premier League in his career. Ronaldo scored 18 goals at 37 in that year where Manchester United were extremely poor and he had barely any service. And by the way, that shows how good Ronaldo is, that he managed to get 18 league goals at 37 in that Manchester United side. Ollie Watkins scored 19 goals last season. Callum Wilson scored 18 league goals 2 seasons ago. Chris Wood is on 10 goals this season. He needs 7 goals in 23 games to equal Rashford's best season in his career. Can he produce what Mo Salah's produced for Manchester United? Can he produce what Palmer's producing? Can he produce what Haaland produces? And okay, yeah, he's not a centre forward, but he was a forward player. And plus, when he was hitting their numbers, when he was at his best, it wasn't in behind the striker in a 3-4-3. And I know time will tell, and I know it's only early days, but it was on the left wing, and that's not there anymore. I mean, I'm even unsure if Alejandro Garnacho is going to be able to hit the heights we thought he's going to be able to do in this system. I think it takes a certain type of player to play that role, and I know Ruben Amorim likes a winger style along with a Bruno Fernandes or a Mason Mount creative, because that's what we've seen so far. But I just think for the money that you've got invested in Marcus Rashford, from the fact that if you sell him it will be pure profit, and the fact that Ruben Amorim is going to need players, I do think you have to sell him. And I think for Marcus Rashford, this isn't where he'd want to be. He's probably going to start against Pilsen, and realistically, he'd probably want to be one of the players that's being rested. And it's vital that is important for the Manchester derby, but I don't think that's how Ruben Amorim sees him. He's already spoken about needing more running, needing more effort. So we'll see what happens, but that was my little take on Marcus Rashford before the Viktoria Plzen game here in Czech Republic. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. Do you agree with me? Would you keep Rashford? Would you sell Rashford? What do you think his future is? Hit a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned for all the content we've got coming over here in Czech Republic, and we will see you on the next one.